Hi, we'd like to thank you for tuning into the World Boxing Review radio show. My name is Aaron Snowell, and they call me the Hall of Fame Trainer of Champions. As we travel the world for past, present, and future stars. And coming to you live from New York, I'm in Tampa, Florida. Ron McNair, president of Ring 8 Boxers Helping Boxers, and definitely Ron's a former boxer and current a boxing judge and current the president of Ring 8. Man, welcome into the World Boxing Review radio show. How you doing?
Thank you, Aaron. It's great to be on your show, and it's a pleasure. When my phone rang and I saw the caller ID, I saw the name Aaron Snowell. I was like, oh, man, I'm getting a call from the champ himself, the great trainer, Aaron Snowell, and I was happy. I was out in Long Island at the time, but I'm back close to home now with my daughters.
Yeah. Hey, look, Ron, Ring 8 has been around for some time. And, since the early 1930s. Tell the listening audience about Ring 8, because people hear it, people see different things about it, but some people just don't know what Ring 8 is. What is Ring 8?
Ring 8 is a boxing organization that was formed in 1953 by Jack Grabelski, a former fighter, trainer, a lover of the sweet science. He got together and he wanted to help former fighters, former referees, former judges, and they started a large crew. It turned out to be in 1953, and they did medical expenses, eyeglasses, prescriptions, maybe a dental visit. But back in the 50s, the medical cost wasn't as much as it is today. But they reached out and they tried to help, everybody involved in the fight game. And they've been successful with it since 1953. And it's a tradition that is continuing today.
Well, Ron, since a little bit, because the former president, he was sick, and bless his heart, he came on the show many times, and he's since passed. But membership when he was sick had started to drift down a little bit. But y'all have really sparked that membership base up, and people are attending the meetings, and you got an up and coming awards dinner. Talk about all of that, man, because y'all doing so much and how important those events are.
Yeah, Ring 8, I've been a member probably since 84, 85. And, it was just as a fight fan, it was a pleasure just going to a meeting to be next to, like a Tammy Moriello, a Tippy Larkin, Sandy Sadler. That's what us fight guys like. We like being around the champs. And I became a member. I didn't think I was ever going to be on the board or anything, but I was there so long. Bobby Bartel was president. You had Henry Wallach was a president. And then you had Bob Duffy, the late Bob Duffy, who spent many years with Ring 8 as the president also. And when he resigned, Frankie Pena took over for a while. And Ring 8 they weren't having the meetings, and they slacked off a little bit. The attendance was going a little low. And so, a couple of guys asked me if I was interested in running Ring 8. And I said, sure. I got calls from 4 specific people on the board. And I believe in August of 23 is when I said, okay, yeah, I'll be interested in taking over the presidency. And I took over the presidency. Our first meeting was snowed out, which adds more to the nerves. But our second meeting was pretty good. We had 60 people, and now we're getting 70 and 80 and possibly 80 plus, according to whoever does the count. The girl who does the count, Tiffany from O'Neill's, who's been our server for 11 years, told us we had a count of 80. So we're getting people out. I'm reaching out to different groups. I'm reaching out to Ring 10 that isn't active anymore. I reached out to them. Then there's John Zervos. He's the president of Friends with the Champ. I reached out to him. He has a large crew. He has his own dinners. I just went on his cruise. It was awesome. Bobby Ches was there, Aaron Davis, Hiram Barkley, Junior Jones, Mitch Green. And, I try to get all the crews together because, Aaron, we don't have a big audience out there. Instead of fighting people, I put out an olive branch and said, let's work together. And, all the crews, we all got together because, we don't have listen, we don't have the membership and we don't have the fighters, and there's not as many trainers and gyms around as there were years ago. It's a small crew, a select bunch of us that really love this sweet science. And instead of splintering everybody up, I wanted to bring us together, and it's been working out. I thank John Zervos. You know, he brought his crew with me, and some Ring 10 like Tyrone, the Harlem Butcher Jackson, and Dennis Milton from Ring 10, and a whole bunch of other guys. You know, they're coming to the Ring 8 meetings, and I'm bringing back a lot of the old fighters. And I'm also bringing back amateur fighters who back in 1980, when I fought for Jimmy Glenn, you know, there was a boxing gym called Luna Boxing Gym. They were a feared boxing gym. If you fought a guy from Luna, you had to make sure your shoelace was tied on tight because those guys were in shape. And just to show you, 1980, at Porfirio Llanes was a champion. Michael Martinez was a champion. Eddie Cruz was a champion there. Juan Laporte comes from there. Johnny Barreto, two-time Golden Glove champ. Anthony Malo Santana, he was a two-time Golden Glove champ out of Luna. And I brought them together last meeting, and it was just awesome just to see all those Golden Glove champions there, along with Vito was there. Dennis Milton, a three-time Golden Glove champion, a guy in the amateurs who beat Michael Nunn 2 times and Frank Tate once. So, you know, I'm getting a lot of guys together. When they walk into the room, Aaron, they're hugging each other, that they've seen each other. And I'll tell you, it's a really happy time.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, you got all of them guys coming in, but we need some more people because this kind of stuff. Everybody talked about it, but everybody don't want to be about it. So the more people you get in there, the more conversation groups can have, bring it to the table. The more you can help fighters and stuff that may be struggling. I know that boxing organization works. When Bob Duffy and Henry Hascop, there was some few fighters that I knew were struggling. I put some money up. They put some money up. One call to Bob Duffy and Henry Hascop. They met the needs of those guys right away. We got them guys on the phone. That was back then. And also, I want to thank you, Ron, your organization, for giving me the Historian Award. You were there that day.
Yep.
You came over and seen the Jack Johnson exhibit.
It
was a surprise to me because they didn't tell me that I was getting an award. They just told me to show up and bring that exhibit. So it was something that's shocking. The meal and the dinner was great. Talk to us about them awards dinners and how important it is. It not only gives tribute to different fighters and people in boxing, but it's also a fundraising opportunity. Talk a little bit about that.
Right. You know, the meetings we have, I consider that like a small, you know, Christmas party, holiday party, you know, that we have, because my goal is to make people happy. And when I bring these fighters together, when they walk in the door, when I see them hug each other, you know, this is awesome. I mean, I'm bringing people together. Like years ago, I remember when Johnny Turner ran into Domenico Monaco. They were hugging each other for half the meeting, you know, because they fought in the Golden Glove Finals in 1970, and Monaco beat Turner. And like the last meeting we had, like, we're going to give some of those guys awards, but we just brought them in for now. And these are the first times a lot of these guys are even coming to meetings. But I reached out personally because I was a Golden Glover in the 78, 79, 80 era. I only fought in 1980, but I was in Jimmy Glenn's gym in Times Square for 3 years. And I know what it takes to get to the Golden Glove Finals. I lost in the Golden Glove Finals in 1980, and I have right here my silver gloves, which I'm very proud of because Jimmy Glenn got me these. He brought me, you know, he brought me to the Garden where Ali Frazier fought. I was very happy to be in the same ring that Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier fought. So it was great. But I know the meetings are leading up to the affair, the big event. But we want people, of course, we're going to try to help parties, you know, like phone bills, electric bills. People call us up if they have problems and need a prescription. But also, I find a lot of happiness of when I bring these people together. You can't buy the happiness they get when they see each other. Like Louis the Syrian Ubella, he fought Johnny the Heat Verderosa in 1980. I brought him to the meeting two meetings ago. I never met him in person, and I gave him a big hug. Johnny Turner was giving him a big hug, and Porfirio Giannis. Everybody was just so happy to see each other. And down the road, like in December, we're having our affair. We don't have all our honorees yet, but we have our long and meritorious person picked out. We have fighter of the year. We have trainer of the year. We have all our awards we're gonna give out, and that makes them happy. Of course, you give a guy $100 bill, $200 bill makes them happy, but you let them know that they're not forgotten. I think that's worth more than a lot of money, especially when Junior Jones walks in. You introduce him as the 5-time champ. And also, I want to bring to your attention that I just put Iran Barkley on the Ring 8 board, along with his manager, John Reitz. So they were all very pleased about that. Iran Barkley, the Blade, he's now part of Ring. He's been part of Ring 8 from day one. But, now he's on the Ring 8 board.
Yeah. Well, now that we cover Ring 8, let's cover you, because you always been an interesting subject. A boxer, right? As you were talking about, a judge. What type of fights did you judge coming up, and how long have you been a judge? And some recent current big fights you were judging. Talk about that. Those you now.
Okay, I first got involved with boxing. I remember on 39th Street in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I was sitting on the floor. I was probably 2 or 3 years old. My grandmother from Sicily was watching boxing, and I sat down and watched the fight. But the thing I remember most, when the bell rang, my grandmother clapped. She was entertained. I'll never forget that, because I was 2 years old, and I was clapping after the round ended. So she was enjoying it, pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
About you and how'd you start judging, and the different fights that you judge.
Yeah, I always went to the fights in the Feld Forum when Bobby Goodman ran the shows every other Thursday, when Gil Clancy was running them with Harold Wetzel before. Then I met the commish, Randy Gordon. Back then, he was a USA broadcaster with Sean O'Grady, ESPN with Sal Marciano, and then he worked MSG with Bruce Beck. I used to talk to him after the fights in the good old days, bar across the street from the Feld Forum. And we were talking. Then one day he called me up. He goes, the governor of New York called him up. He's going to be the new commissioner. He called me up in my house, and he told me, "You're going to be my junior commish." He made me a boxing inspector. 1988. I was a boxing inspector for 10 years. The first fight I ever worked as a boxing inspector was Tommy the Duke Morrison's corner with Wally Muhammad. And if you have the program, it's a misprint. It's even more collectible because they put Tony Morrison instead of Tommy Morrison. But I got started as an inspector for 10 years. And then in 1997, of April 28th, I judged my first professional fight in Yonkers Raceway. That's Brian Adams, actually. He was the first fight I ever judged. And it was his birthday that day. And I judged his first pro fight, April 28th at Yonkers Raceway, not far from the stables. Then I did a lot, just like any new fighter, a new judge. I did my homework. They sent me to the Bronx. They sent me to White Plains. Back then, White Plains was busy with Larry Bonds. Larry Bonds fought up there a lot. And that was Pat Versace was his trainer. Dragon too. And Pat Versace was there with Murky Sosa for a while. And I just kept judging fights. And I started getting, from 4-rounders, I went to the 6, to the 8, to the 10. And then in 2007, I got a license in New Jersey by Commissioner Larry Hazard. I was pleased to get a license by New Jersey. And in 2012, I was licensed in Pennsylvania by Greg Serb. And, I judged a lot of fights. I've been all around. I judged Inoue in Japan. I just came back from Saudi Arabia. I judged Dubois. I was in England. I judged Anthony Joshua against Takam in front of 79,000 people in the garden, a sold-out garden. I judged Triple G. In Maryland, I judged Lomachenko. I judged Tank Davis in a sold-out Brooklyn Barclays Center. I'm very
man. You've been more active than a 4-legged dog or a 1-legged dog in the butt whooping contest, man, Ron. But how important it is that you live in where you live. It covers like the three states there. So talk a little bit about that and how that helped boost your career, because you're not too far from different states.
Right. Well, actually, when I lived in Brooklyn, I mean, Sands Casino, they changed its name now to Wind Creek. Commissioner Serb gave me a lot of work there. That was only 79 miles from my house. You know, the Newark Arena is only like 40 miles from Brooklyn. And, you know, Atlantic City, well, that was a bit of a hike. But listen, when you're into the fight game, you know the deal. You'll go anywhere. It doesn't matter. If I have to rent a tire, buy a gas tank, I'll go anywhere. So, um, you know, then I was fortunate enough that Pat Pinella from Maryland called me up. I was recommended by I think Commissioner Hazard, so I started judging in Maryland too, Lomachenko and you know, other guys I forget, but I've judged. I believe I judged the second most amount of fights in the history of New York State.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. Congratulations to you. And that list of judges that's been around the country, man, that is long finding distinguished. And for you to have those accolades, Ron, you're doing a great job, and you keep
Thank you.
up the great work. We're going to give you a little rest here while we go around the world and we talk a little bit about boxing. We're going to keep you engaged here tonight in Tampa here. Paul is going to fight Perry down in the downtown arena here in Tampa, Florida. It's on pay-per-view, The Zone, and it starts at 12 a.m. Where Jake Paul and them are they're planning to climb in the ring. Then that should be interesting. But you have a lot of great named fighters on the undercard, such as Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know, he's going to be fighting Hall on that card. And then you got Amanda Serrano, man. She's making it big, man. She did the fight in the Garden, one of the biggest women fights
Yeah,
in
that
women's
was.
boxing history. I mean, she's fighting tonight down there. So this card is really, really tuning up, Ron. And, you know, the Paul brothers, some people don't like them. I love them because what they have done, they have sparked uh, interest in young people, second to none with their antics and things like that they do on social media. So when you keep people engaged in boxing, it's always a good thing. And Paul is scheduled for later on this year to climb in the ring with the youngest heavyweight champion of the world now, pushing 60, Mike Tyson. And that should be interesting because people want to see Mike Tyson tear his head off. And I think Mike Tyson, you never lose a punch, as you well know, Ron. And he just might be the one to do that.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we love Mike Tyson. I know you worked with Mike, and you know, Catskill Thunder, born and bred in New York. You know, I'm glad he's a New Yorker, and you know how entertaining he was. I believe I saw him his first fight in the Felt Forum. I think it might have been with Sammy Scaff, and I think
Right,
that I ran Barkley, Mike Tinley undercard, and then I saw him fight Mitch Green in the Garden. I saw him fight, I think Jose Rabalta in the Garden also. He fought.
right.
I think he fought three times in the Garden. Yeah, I might be wrong, but whatever.
Yeah, well, you know this stuff with Paul and Perry tonight. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see how he does. But last Saturday, to follow up what we reported, Boots Ennis stopped his guy in the fifth round in stunning fashion. Man, was there a lot of action packed? Man, this Bootsy can really put it down. And later on this year, we're looking for a great matchup if Crawford, who's fighting August 3rd out there in California. And there's a lot of names on that card, but congratulations to Boots Ennis for putting down a great performance at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia last Saturday. But, you know, Tim Tszyu is back in the ring. He will return to defend his IBF world title fight eliminator on September 22nd, way down under, down there in Australia. And we'll see what he can do. But also, like we have just said, Crawford is going to defend his championship to see Crawford back in the ring. You know, he's looking for bigger name money fights, and maybe him and Canelo Alvarez that Turk Al Sheikh can really put that together over there in Saudi Arabia. I think it'll be a classic matchup between two pound for pound best fighters, and that's what boxing needs. Let the best fight the best, and when the best fight the best, there's really no loser. When you talk about Muhammad Ali, when you talk about Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Ronnie Lyles, all of them great fighters, man. People only know them to be great, and they don't talk about them getting whooped too much. But guess what? They know that they were heck of a fighters. They put on a heck of a show, and this is what the young people got to realize: is that as long as you go out there and give it your best, the boxing fans just love it. You win, lose, or draw. When you give it your all, make the fight exciting, they're going to keep tuning in to you, man. And that's what it's all about. So, Ron, we're going to bring it right back to you now. Okay. Man, some of the great matchups being a judge to, like you mentioned, Anthony Joshua, a two-time heavyweight champion, vowing and biting at the bit to get back in there to see if he can win the title again. He's fighting September 23rd against the boys. Right. If he wins this, he'll be an IBF champion because of Usyk letting go the championship, man. What is it like? That's a big guy. Ryan, you're big too, but when you got big guys like that, 6'4", 6'5", you're down on the apron of the ring. What is it like looking up at it?
When I judged Joshua in Cardiff, I looked up and I think he was 267 that night. And I say, wow, what a big man, considering when, we had Floyd Patterson as a heavyweight champ that was in the Olympics as like a middleweight. And, those guys weren't that big. Ingemar Johansson, when you look at Joshua and you compare them to them, it's just amazing. He's like a Primo Canera. He was Primo.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
But yeah, Joshua is pretty fluid, though, for his size at 267. But he really went up and down in a lot of fights. His weight's big one fight, little the next fight. But he beat the Calm that night. He stopped him. And, Anthony Joshua is Anthony Joshua. The guy's a big guy. He's constantly in shape. He has no issues. He changed a lot of trainers, but you don't hear no issues about him getting in trouble. He leads a good, clean life. He's a good role model. And, he's a pleasure. I know when I walked through the crowds and I saw him in England, I was at England about 3 or 4 times judging fights. He's always pleasurable. He walks over to you, he shakes your hand, he smiles, he talks to you. He's a pleasure. He's a pleasure. And he's a big guy that can move pretty good for a guy that big,
Yeah. And hey, look, Ron, we talked about Serrano fighting tonight down here in Tampa. Wow. Have you judged any women's championship fights?
Oh, yeah. I judge Amanda Serrano on a world title fight. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of her. But I also judged the first major female fight in Madison Square Garden. It might have been 1996. Christy Martin versus Isra Giedra. What a good fight that was. And I was a judge for that fight. And I was amazed at that fight because when I was judging it, they were right above me. And I saw Christy unloading with the left hook. And I was like, oh, my God. It's like Joe Frazier. I mean, that girl had some power. She was 35 back then. She was.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. Yeah, I judged her. I judged, Alicia Napolitan, Alicia Ashley, Ronica Jeffries. I mean, I don't want to miss anyone out. I judged McCaskill. That might be Pennsylvania or Maryland. I'm not sure. But, they're all there on my records. I didn't go back to check. The females I judge.
Well, look, we're talking about Serrano tonight, but next week up there in Flint, Michigan, Carissa Shields, she calls herself the GOAT and the woman's GOAT, July 27th at Little Caesars in Detroit Arena. Carissa Shields, a 2-time Olympian. Right. And moving up in weight, the heavyweight, at 29 years old, she's still young, man. She got a lot of fights. Where does she go from here? Or, you know, what woman's going to come up from with the name game and say, "Come on, Shields, I'm taking that goat away from you because I want to be the goat." And that's what makes great matchup, man. And hopefully she can pull that off. Moving up in weight classes, she's been successful. She's tried MMA. She
Right.
she was little successful in MMA, but she's back in the ring, and it's good to see her back in there fighting.
She's a big fan. Also, last week when I was at the Newark Center, I judged a fight when Shakur Stevens was fighting the main event. I kept hearing someone yelling behind me, yelling behind me. I turned around. It was Clarissa Shield yelling advice to Shakur.
Yeah, yeah, she's definitely a big fan. But Ron, let's jump back in the ring 8, man. Let's talk about that. You just had July 11th. You had a meeting. You had a meal at your monthly meetings. But I'm talking about that in December. What's that date in December for the big awards dinner
That'll,
that y'all put on?
that'll be December 8th at Russo's on the Bay, the all familiar place for Ring 8, where we've been there for many, many years. I mean, back in 85, 86, we were somewhere else. And Tony Mazzarella's Crab House. We had a couple of Christmas parties at his place there. But now we're at Ring 8, December 8th. It's really one of the top places in Brooklyn. Probably like the top 3 or 4 places, maybe the top places. Right on the water there. They give you a fine breakfast in the morning. They give out some awards, and then you have a choice of like 4 or 5 things to order for dinner. And the crowd is always tremendous, and we get some big names in there, and we're still going to figure out who we're going to bring in for this one. We have a lot of, since I'm in, I brought some other guys back, and they're clinging.
Yeah, how much? What's the price for the dinner? Where can they buy the tickets? And how? And everything them tickets, man. We want to jam pack this place up. We want people standing outside begging in where they got to go find some tables. They got to go find some chairs to smash them in there, Ron, is because this is a good cause, man. Like, come on, man. Tell us the price, where they can buy the tickets and all that.
You can get me on Ring 8. My email is ronmac10998@gmail.com. I have Instagram.
Okay.
My daughter helped me set up. It's Ring 8 President, and that's what it is on Instagram. I'm new with that, Ring 8 President, and that's pretty good. I'm getting a lot of people signing on. And actually, at the meeting the other night, I had 4 people come over to me and shake my hand, and they said they found out about me through Instagram, and they're casual fight fans, but they're there now. And next meeting, they said they're bringing some of their friends. And that's how that. My daughter told me, Dad, get off of Facebook. That's for old people. Get on Instagram and get the young crowd. She told me, it's pretty good. So the tickets are going to be $150. You can reach me at my email or my phone number, which I'll tell you. It's on the web. It's 1-917-968-5636. That's 1-917-968-5636. Just Google Ring 8 New York, and you'll see me. You'll see my picture. You'll see my name there, Ron McNair. I'm the Ring 8 president, and I take all your calls.
Yes, you do, Ron, and you talk to the people, man, and that's why the people are coming out and supporting you. Good, man. Ron, man, time goes fast when you're having fun, and it's great for you to come on the World Boxing Review radio show, man. In closing, is there anything you want to say, Ron?
In closing, I want to get Ring 8 back to where it was a couple of years ago. I'm almost there, according to the crowds at the meetings. But I want to put together a very good holiday party on December 8th. I want to do that. I want to bring out some of the guys that need to be recognized and get an award, because I let them know at the small meetings that they're not forgotten, and we're going to honor them at the dinner. We haven't gotten them all set yet, but we're bringing amateurs in to give them awards, because they were Golden Glove warriors back in the day.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Ron. But before we close, now your son is he still in the military?
I have an older son, Ronald Jr., who was in the Marines. He did his time in Afghanistan, He came out. He became a correctional officer in Rikers Island for 6 years. He just left there, and now he's a New York City police officer. I have a young son that's 18 years old. He goes into the Marines on the 29th of this month. So he wanted to be like his older brother. And he's going to be a tough Marine just like his brother. Thank God. I'm thankful that you asked, and anyone out there can give any kind of prayers to any of our service people. That'd be great. Thank you.
Hey, man, I want to thank your sons for serving, man. It's a great honor when you see young men focus on giving back to God and His country, and to keep us safe at home, man. That's a blessing, and keep your family safe, Ron, and everybody. But most of all, Ron, keep doing the great work that you're doing with Ring 8, man. It's greatly needed. Boxers helping boxers. Y'all are doing it, and boy, are y'all putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to when fighters in need. You're there indeed, and that's what really counts, man. When people can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, we got a former fighter that's in trouble. He may have fell back on his rent a little bit. He needs help with his mortgage. He lost his job or something like that." You guys step right in there. Hey, man, when's it at? Give me the name, give me the people, man, and y'all do it, man. And these dinners and stuff help provide you when you get them calls. I know sometimes it's a burden for you and your family when you get these calls any time of night they come in, man. But you keep up the good work, Ron, and don't let nobody break the spirit that you got. Your spirit's strong, just like when you were in the ring fighting. And we need people like you to keep the fight alive for boxers, helping boxers, man. That's what we need, man, and you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much, Aaron. And I tell you, like I said, when I saw your name on a caller ID, boy, I grew about another 2 or 3 inches. I was so happy to get a call. Thank you.
Well, hey, look, people, get them memberships, come to the dinner, and also you can, if you think that we're bull crapping, that this stuff ain't real, you can attend their monthly meetings that they have. And trust me, when you leave out of there, your spirit's going to be renewed. You're going to feel like you're a part of something greater than ourselves. And that's what Ring 8 does. When you get there, and most of all, they make you feel at home.
Yes.
Boxers helping boxers. The president of Ring 8, Ron McNair, thank you for coming on the World Boxing Review radio show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.